Welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. You know, Scripture tells us that we are to give or leave an inheritance to our grandchildren. You know, it's amazing. You know, Scripture doesn't say we're supposed to leave it to our children. It says to our grandchildren.
Really?
So the interesting thing today is we're going to be talking about an inheritance. Now, some people, they want to spend it. They don't want to leave it. You see the
like my grandparents.
you see the bumper stickers.
I don't think they knew that one.
I'm spending my kids' inheritance. Or
Right.
they got it at the motor home or the boat.
Absolutely.
Or the motorcycle.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about inheritance a little bit today. For some people, that's very important.
Well, for a financial planner, it's very important to know what the client wants.
Oh, sure.
As far as the leaving an inheritance for the loved ones. I mean, it's a big baseline for the whole retirement and financial plan that you're not going to have a broker bring the subject up, or most advisors, they're just inheritance. It's not even thought of. But
Okay.
in the second meeting with my clients, that's one of the questions that I ask them. How important is it that we leave an inheritance to your loved ones, to your heirs?
What is I'm just curious, what's the typical answer? Oh, I don't know. Or is it, I'm sure for some people that it's very important.
Yeah, so I give them three options. I
Okay.
say, is it extremely important?
Okay.
Is it somewhat important? Could you care less? It's not a concern at all, right? And that gives me a pretty good idea of where the couple or where the folks are coming from. It's pretty much all over the board. The most common's the middle one. It's somewhat important. They'd like to leave their loved ones something. We do have quite a few clients that think it's extremely important.
Okay.
So we have to make sure that we do it.
So I'm reading between the lines here. Your strategy, the answer to those questions, it helps you determine what strategy is best.
Well, it helps us go in the right direction. Just as a general point, I guess. When you're doing income planning for retirement, so your client has a lifetime of income, they have to worry about running out of money. There's the conservation approach. In other words, we want to conserve what they've saved.
Okay.
And then there's the consumption approach. It's okay to dip into what they've saved. Two drastically different approaches.
Sure.
One, we have to live on interest only. The other one, we don't have to earn as much interest because we can dip into principal to supply the income shortage or the income subsidy.
Okay. And that all is dictated by some of these questions. If I want to leave a large inheritance to my children or my grandchildren or whatever, then that dictates a little bit on how you set all of this stuff up, I'm sure.
Well, that's the next question. So the first question is it important that we leave an inheritance to your heirs? It doesn't have to be children. It could be grandchildren. It doesn't have to be grandchildren. It could be children. Before I ask them about their heirs, I ask them who are their heirs, right? It might be a niece or a nephew. It might be a charity. So
Okay.
heirs, do you want to leave an inheritance? Doesn't have to be children or grandchildren.
Okay.
It could be your brother or sister or your church, whoever.
Sure.
Right? So, but that's beside the point.
Okay.
So as far as planning goes, is it important that we leave an inheritance to your heirs? Then, like you said large inheritance earlier. Well, then we get into how much of an inheritance.
Okay.
That's the key, truly. How important is it we leave an inheritance, and then how much? If you've amassed $1 million estate, is it important that $1 million is left
I see.
in the end?
Okay. Sure.
Or is it, it'd be nice to leave the kids 100 apiece, 100,000 or a couple $100,000 or whatever. Or it'd be nice if we could save, make sure the house is left for the kids. And that. So like you said, we talk all the time, every family's different.
Sure.
Every
Right.
family has a different amount of assets.
Right.
Some have collectibles. So it's important that this gun collection gets to the grandkids, or this collector car, these 2 or 3 or 4 cars, that they go somewhere. It doesn't have to just be money.
Sure. Now, I don't know if this, my mind is going, as you, let's say you're retired and you had planned to leave, X dollars to the family or the home or whatever, but as you know, things change in life. Illnesses strike, things, priorities change. The grandson, is a drug addict. Things happen. You help maneuver this stuff around because things can change dramatically over the course of 10, 20 years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I have clients that change their tune over the years. They just because of that reason. Or, we'd like to leave our kids a nice inheritance, and then their kid ends up being, rather well off, where the child doesn't need anything.
Sure.
Right? Or the son married some, evil, daughter-in-law that, that.
Nah, that never happened.
Yeah, or vice versa.
Right.
Where the parents all of a sudden, don't like that situation and shift gears. Even to the point where they'll disinherit the child and bypass them and just leave it to the grandchildren, like we talked about earlier.
Sure.
Yeah, things change for sure.
Okay.
Or they realize that, hey, it was extremely important to leave an inheritance, but in order to do that, we got to make some lifestyle choices and changes. And now, no, we can't take that vacation that we wanted to take every single year, or go to Florida for a month or 2,
Right.
because that's eating into their inheritance. So they have a change of tune, and they say, you know what, it's all of a sudden not extremely important we leave an inheritance.
Right.
We want to enjoy our retirement, and if there's something left, we'll fine.
Sure. So that, even though it's a plan, you have to figure out, again, what works for your family. This is one of the things I like, talking about, Wayne. We've been doing this now for several years, and what I like, and even working with your staff, I go into the office occasionally, and you have a wonderful staff, but they help you really figure this out. You don't have to go this alone.
No, and it's not a burden or a chore. It can be enjoyable, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time we think of finances, either saving or we're taxing or.
Yeah, and it's like people dread it. And once they go through the process and I kind of simplify it down to the basics, then they come out feeling, relieved that, hey, we see this working, we see these numbers, and we're not afraid anymore.
Absolutely.
About retirement. We're confident.
Right. Well, friends, go to that website, please, todaysretirees.com, todaysretirees.com, or pick up the phone, 866-626-3990. Give Wayne's office a call, sit down with him, and let's figure out a plan that makes sense for your family. When we come back, we'll talk more about an inheritance and how to leave it well to your family if that's what you're going to do.